There are so many issues that require consideration in the making of an architecture that is responsive to place, such as, but not limited to, the culture. Now, Jose Cadurk said to me in 1973 that to make an appropriate architecture for society, there must be a long cultural period for it to develop. That was extraordinarily important to me. He also said to me, I am very nervous before I take on any new project. That is extremely important. Whether you're my age, 3/4 of a century nearly, or whether you're 25, you must be always nervous about a new project. Otherwise, you're not really thinking at the edge of what you're doing. Extremely important. There are other issues, such as understanding the geology of a region, the geomorphology, the hydrology, the tones and the ecotones of the landscape, the topography, which defines water flow and drainage, the latitude, which defines the relationship of the sun to our planet. It influences temperature. The sun's position influences penetration into the building at a specific site, at a particular latitude. The altitude influences temperature and air pressure. And then there's the site's relationship to the coast or the inland. It influences the humidity, the moisture, temperature, rainfall, snow. And then there's light, the clarity or lack of clarity. All of the above influence the flora. The species respond to the soils, the drainage, the climate, and the altitude affects the heat, the cold, the sunlight hours, sunlight intensity or fragility. Affects light, the cloud systems. Then there's the fauna that respond to the flora and all of the above conditions. And water and the availability, or in my country, the lack of the availability. And of course there's waste we've got to think about. The appropriate management, responsibility to the environment. The materials appropriate, available to the region, making responsible choices is very important. And the methods of assembly, so that in the method of assembly, a way that you can pull it apart so you can reuse components. That's part of responsibility. That's part of being sensible. Aboriginal people know how to build. The Aboriginal people here in the desert area know that I know here, by the way it's showing, this is wintertime. In wintertime, that I know that north is back this way, the south on the other side. In wintertime, the warm air is coming from the southeast. It's not hot air, but it's warm air. But in summertime, that bark comes onto the other side with the fire that is here, goes to the other side with the smoke going the other way. So the Aboriginal person in the desert knows where he and she is building, as does the Aboriginal person up in the monsoonal tropics knows that they've got to be up off the ground because of the rainfall, and during the heavy rainfall, up to 300 millimetres an hour. In that rainfall, the crocodiles start moving through. These are the man-eating crocodiles, or eating every other thing that moves. And the important thing here is not only to be up there, but to have a dry platform and allow the air to pass through and have shade. So shade is very important. And down here will often be built a fire just with leaves, so smoke will come around the building and keep the mosquitoes away. People know what to do. This is the forest in Bougainville. These are the buildings in Bougainville, are made entirely out of the forests of the place. This is architecture for place. These people know what they're doing. This is a meeting place. Look at the drum. This is a drum for music, made out of materials of the forest. This is all renewable. This is marvellous. These buildings have been here, Trogia, for hundreds of years. Dubrovnik for hundreds of years, and still going. It's not a life cycle of simply 30 years and turn around, demolish and start again. And is it not the thing we absolutely love to go and visit? Isn't this culture, this history, the thing that we really love to be able to enjoy? And look at this one, also a marvellous, sensible tent. This tent is structured from the hair from goats and camels. When it rains, the weave expands and keeps the rain out. When it's dry, the threads shrink, leaving air gap. The top surface is very hot, and it starts to generate air movement. Or in this part of the world, in Morocco, mud towns where there's no further use, the material goes back into the land. This is really marvellous. Or these people know where they're building. This is in the wintertime. Here is the summertime. It's in shade here. Here, it's in wintertime. In sun, they knew where to build. In the Greek islands, materials appropriate from the island. Here is a material of earth that is painted, mixed with lime, gives us concrete roofed with the lime, gives you wonderful heat reflection, gives you light reflection, gives you waterproofing agent, and gives you disinfectant. So the idea of painting all the paving inside, when you've got donkeys and other animals moving down the street and crapping and shitting and pissing everywhere, it is important that you actually have the joints covered in this lime. And it's a product of the island. It's slate. And yet the minor product of the island are these red oxides and blue oxides. And look at the beauty of this. Look at the light quality. Look at the reflection. Look at the ability to get from this place up to this point here with just a hole in the thing. All seat of the pants sort of design. Really important. And yet in Western New South Wales at Mungo National Park, where it's likely that my wife Wendy and I will be doing a project out in this World Heritage area, is this beautiful building, a wool shed. Wool sheds in Australia are fantastic. Look at the light level in here. It's really hot here in the summertime. And to be able to have this shade, the psychology of shade, not only the physical attribute of shade. And this farmer knows where the farmer works, and this farmer knows where they're working, because this farmer is out in the dry country. This farmer is in the wet country. And to put fodder out here is not going to have spontaneous combustion, but it will in this area. And then the early buildings in Australia, the wonderful veranda, the word vera coming from Portugal, the word vera, the shade cover. But look at the size of it. This is the British dimension of a veranda. This is not good enough for a veranda in Australia. This not only just cuts out the winter sunlight, builds up heat in here, and look how people use it. Look where the chairs are located. They're all looking out probably to Mother England. And look at this little number. What a beauty this is. Look at this. What a charmer. Resolved. Any landscape architects here? This has resolved it all for you. What poverty of mind and barrenness of spirit this is. Just the most terrible, terrible sort of stuff you could get. This has had its comeuppance. This is important. This was a house built in the wrong place. The ocean and the dunes have caught it. So if we misbehave, we get into terrible troubles if we misbehave against nature. And I'm up here, and these are the wind patterns that you get here. This is what I was talking to you earlier. So that in the northwest come down in summer, the southeast move up here in winter, and this is how the winds move around Australia from the different seasonal periods. And of course, one is looking at these wind patterns and knowing the build-up in the storm in Darwin. The rains fall, come down onto these wonderful rocks out into the wetlands, and then down into these flats, finally ending up in the ocean. And to the Aboriginal people, fire and regeneration is extremely important. And look to here where the renewal is so fresh, is so beautiful. It is just the most amazing landscape. And in Aboriginal culture, there are many, many seasons. Apart from the flowering and the fruiting, there's the pre-wet, the post-wet. There is the season of fattening of the sea animals. There are many seasons. There is in the order of, I think, 8 seasons. And within the Aboriginal people, the culture of art, of painting. These are Quincan spirits. This is the Dighton lady up in northern Australia. Working with Aboriginal people has been an amazing experience for me. This is the traditional buildings up in the region, very simple and direct works. The church used to have windows in here. Well, the cyclone took care of that in a very short time. So glass is not that appropriate in this sort of environment, as David was explaining sand in the desert in the first lecture today. And this is a government building in this region. And look at the light level inside, and look at how the wind can come through in this monsoonal tropic region of high temperatures in summer with high humidity, and nice temperatures and low humidity in winter. And you can see people moving outside from inside, but from outside you can't see what's going on. This is critical for Aboriginal people. And this is a house I designed up in Arnhem Land for Bundak Marika, Mambara Marika, and Mark Alderton. And this was the beginning of thinking about how you work with the climate. At this part of summer in 11 degrees south of the equator, the sun at midday in December, which is equivalent to your June, is at this angle, which is really, it was amazing to me to discover this. So working with sunlight, it develops ways of how you might shade this system from morning till night. So you don't ever really want to get sun into the building at all. And these are drawings that I've done for just developmental things. But, you know, architecture, you can't understand architecture unless you understand it in plan, which is a section, or section, the vertical. The horizontal section, the vertical section. You don't understand what an onion is until you open it. And architecture is no different to that. This is the plan of the building. This is the entry area. This is the sitting on the floor area. Food preparation in this area here. Television in this zone here. This is a safety place, another safety place where the cyclones come. You've got cyclones of wind velocities up to 220 kilometres an hour, and a tidal surge of 2 metres that comes up to this level across here during a huge storm. These are the drawings that I do. They're in a sense, they're sections that go right through the building, and they're all on one section. And the parents are sleeping to the west, the children to the east of the parents. The parents are to the west because it's the end of the day, the sinking sun. The children are to the east of the parents. It's the beginning of day, the rising sun. And this is the building, looking at materials around. It's an area of bauxite and iron. And so you get these beautiful red oxides, and constructing the building in Sydney to package it like this here. And this is it under construction. Here it is in its place, and this is the occupation of it. So this is what you're looking at from the outside. This is from the outside at the living area. And then the early days of occupation, the day it was finished, this was the lunch that had been gifted itself to the people up there. And then this is sitting down having breakfast. You can open up all the panels this way so you can sit and use all the floors for seats. And then this is the bed for the grandchild. You can see this was done in 95. They had a fax at that point. And so you'll probably see a kid sitting in here, or maybe in here, I can't see from here. And then these blades are all for the sunrise. That's where this is summertime. I can tell it's summertime because of the northwest winds. That's the northwest wind blowing. It's absolutely dead set. You know if it's blowing that way, it's summertime. And you can see how the sun is off the building, off the interior. And look at the shadow pattern of the building in this area. And here's the building in this landscape, and these are the traditional buildings.